G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Aussie Starcraft. We bring you a continuation of this amazing series from IEM Cologne. Awesome tournament that was thrown by Intel very recently. It did take place about 2 weeks ago. There's a continuation in our series between our red Terran in the top right hand corner, CMStormPolt, and our blue Protoss player in the top left hand corner. It's going to be classic. The map is of course Habitation Station, which I gotta say is one of my favourite maps in the map pool at the moment. Just proves to be provide epic games round after round. Of course, we have cast some of this series on the channel. If you missed the earlier game that we did cast, I would suggest you had it a little bit fast there, had it on 2x speed. My bad, guys. If you did miss the earlier game, I'd suggest you go and cast an absolutely epic Protoss versus Terran game between these two players on Frost. Don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to say anything about the result. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, guys. It was absolutely phenomenal, and we're excited to see some more of the action between these two coming up in this game. So best of 5 series, and we'll try and cast a few of the games as the ones we've cast thus far have just been absolutely killer games. IEM Cologne, you've probably heard the hype. It's on the forums, on Reddit, it's on everywhere. Just been some of the best games thus far in 2014. So shaping up to be an absolutely cracking game. I was watching some of the GSL the other night in my hotel room in Japan. Some amazing games there as well, but for a round of 8, I think IEM Cologne's been one of the best competitions we've seen thus far. So yeah, catch it all here at Aussie Starcraft, guys. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mum. You don't want to do your chores, you want to watch IEM Cologne. So it's all here on Aussie Starcraft. Looks like Polt's going to be scouting out quite early with one of his SCVs. Classic going for a fairly similar opening to what we saw in last game, throwing down that expand as soon as he's got the cyber core, and then following up with a nice quick mothership core to try and protect that relatively quick expand. Polt going to likewise be throwing down a command center of his own. We do have a Reaper moving out to carry on the good work of that initial scouting from the SCV, and have a mothership core getting in position to try and drive this Reaper back. So Reaper not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage. This is a lot harder map than Frost is to try and get a good scout off or try and do any auxiliary damage to those probes. Poor Reaper actually getting picked off by the mothership core and actually dissolving there from a photon blast to the face. So poor Reaper will go down. So Polt's going to switch production. Now he's got the reactor, going to be producing a few Marines, 2 at a time. And we see the same interesting drop to 1 gas immediately after getting that first reactor. So it looks like Polt prefers this style of build. It does give him the opportunity to get out his barracks quite quickly. Barracks 2 and 3, 2 completing at the 5-minute mark, and the third barracks completing just before 6 minutes. So this allows Polt to produce quite a lot of units. We notice he's now put the gas back in play now that his infrastructure's on the field. His natural expansion's got its orbital command up already. He's in quite a strong economic position, going to be able to produce on all 3 of these barracks. So I love this play from Polt, going to be producing quite a lot of units. We have Stimpack already on the way. As for Classic, he's got an expansion of his own. He's got one Stargate actually just finishing up as well, so we have a chrono boosted Oracle coming up. Question is, will it be able to do any damage? And I've got to say, with Polt already positioning 6 Marines here in the mineral line, I don't like its chance of doing a lot. But in the last game we did see Classic put that to great use, even though it was unable to do any real direct damage. It did get a kill or 2. It made itself useful for the entire game, revealing units, following drops around, spotting incoming drops, just very useful for the entire duration. And I love players that are able to do that. Some players will use their Oracle, and as soon as it's quick expand here from Classic, actually going straight for a very quick third in the high yield. And the question is, will Polt pick up on this? We have some units moving out across the field, but Polt actually hasn't got any eyes on that third base as of yet, and we have the Oracle moving out. Oracle forced back by the Marines in the mineral line, but if Classic can hold this base for a couple of moments. He could be in a fantastic economic position. One base up on his Terran opponent would be a place any Protoss player would love to be. It looks like Polt is going to march happy as Larry in the front door of Classic and start blasting away at this Nexus. Few Stalkers going to be moving down to try and protect this, but the production's still very low from Classic. Two Stalkers, 2 Sentries and an Oracle going to be all that stands between Polt and a lot of damage, and nice tight micro from Classic's going to get 3 SCV kills there, and so able to make back most of the cost of that Oracle, and able to do a bit of damage with it. So very nice control from Classic. And the third base finishes up in the gold high yield, so great place for Classic to actually be. I'm going to be rallying workers from all 3 of his Nexi over to this location. They're going to be mining there just as quickly as possible. If he can hold this for another minute or two, this is actually going to pay for all the additional gateways Protoss players love to toss down right about now. Nice force fields. Actually going to be pinning this Terran army. Won't be able to fall back, and going to be able to clean it up with relatively few losses. So Classic looking very good at the start of this game, and certainly in a very strong position. Polt obviously going to be throwing down a third of his own, though Polt probably still unaware of the fact that it's substantially behind his opponent, and more importantly behind his opponent's high yield. Though Polt is teching up on full speed. We have the first 2 medevacs almost completed now as we hit the 10-minute mark. We have +1 weapons finishing up, as well as the concussion shields and combat shields. Sorry, concussion shells and combat shields just starting out. So Classic going to be spotting these units moving out into the middle of the field, and Polt trying to posture for an aggressive attack. And I have a feeling this floating factory is going to be revealing Classic's third base, and Polt is going to get a sense of just how far behind he actually is in this game. So Polt going to cut across here and actually going to see this base. Going to drop a few Marines here, trying to get in a position to threaten the mineral line, but Photon Overcharge going to make it just a little bit too hard for that drop to do any damage. Though certainly baiting out the Photon Overcharge is very valuable. Going to leave the main and the natural expansion very vulnerable to drops for the next minute or two. But I love what Classic's doing, covering with this Oracle, trying to ensure that no extra drops can slip by undetected, particularly now that the Photon Overcharge is wearing off. Classic knows if he can hold this base for just a few moments longer, going to really pay dividends for him. It's certainly paid for all of these gateways, and paying for the masses of zealots that are actually being warped in at the moment. Mass stalker action from Classic here, already with blink upgraded. Now you can see Classic just making these blink stalkers very effective here. Polt coming back for another round, but picking up a few stalkers, but a nice few more force fields is going to pick off a big group of these Marines, and ballsy blink forward from Classic on top of the remainder of the bio from Polt, and now that's going to equalise the score a fair bit. You normally won't see Protoss players blink on top of a stemmed up bio ball unless the game's virtually over. So we can see Classic getting just a little bit confident here as he tries to power forward with this blink stalker attack, and it's quite a formidable force move here. Polt trying to put a bit of pressure back on Classic, knows he needs to do some damage to his third base, but Classic with so many units, the benefits of that high yield really starting to kick in. Classic can afford the zealots to tank as well as the stalkers to do the DPS. The medevac certainly all that's keeping Polt in this game at present, able to stim and keep some of these units in play. 5 medevacs certainly, or 7 medevacs. Actually, I think we need some bio to go with these medevacs. Almost more units in the air than there are on the ground, and certainly not something we can say in very many Terran games. We have Classic marching up here for the third base, and Polt certainly needs to keep this alive. He's behind economically already. Reinforcements streaming down, going to be picking up some of these stalkers and zealots. We have Classic trying to micro his way out of this, but taking a lot of damage. Those concussive shells certainly making short work of the stalkers who've run out of blink cooldown, but we have another big zealot warp in making its way towards a natural. Looks like a few of those zealots going to lose courage, maybe head down towards the third base, knowing there will be some reinforcements streaming in from Polt momentarily. We can see those making their way down. These zealots actually going to get pincered between the group from Polt that was chasing those stalkers out and the reinforcements making their way down from the main. Zealots unfortunately going to recommit there and take a lot of damage. The concussive shells certainly making up for their very cheap 50 gas, 50 mineral cost. Killed him quite a lot of zealots thus far in the engagement. Last zealot going to be going down there. Factory still spotting this third base, but unfortunately for Polt, not able to do a whole lot more than look at it and watch the resources pour into Classic's bank account. And we can see that bank account starting to become substantial. 1,000 of each resource, 1,000 of each resource sitting there in the bank, compared to Polt's 300, 500. So. And we can see currently Polt actually doing quite well with the supply, actually managing to stay ahead of his Protoss opponent, which is a little bit of a feat there. Making his way across the map, trying so desperately to get some units in position to threaten this third, but Classic just determined to hang on, knows that this third is giving a massive advantage, massive doom drop in the main from Polt, managing to sneak in behind the Oracle, trying to clean this up with a few Zealots and the Oracle, but taking a lot of damage. We have massive amount of workers going down, 12 being killed from each side, so this drop able to do a lot of damage for Polt and start to equalise things economically. We're at about 60 workers each, so that drop's certainly a big deal for Polt. Able to force the cancel as well at the force base, so Polt using his micro and multitasking to great effect as he's maneuvering both these drops, a drop at the top and at the bottom location simultaneously. Factory continuing to spot where this Protoss army is, and it looks like Classic's going to continue to try and maintain this position as best he can. Both players fairly even at about 160 supply, and see a counter attack from Classic going to be delaying this fourth base of Polt. Polt unfortunately unable to take and secure his own gold expansion, but a massive zealot warp in the main going to do a lot of damage for Classic. We have workers going down now as that worker deaths rockets up to 17. Army here going to catch most of these zealots in a choke point and clean them up very cost efficiently. But unfortunately for Polt, he's taken more. He was behind economically before that drop swung in. Going to do his best to try and equalise things. We have another Nexus snipe from Polt, going to force the cancel and clean up these proxy pylons as well. So nice work from Polt, just trying to edge in any advantage he can get. But unfortunately, economically, the worker counts are starting to tell the story of this game. The Protoss player managing to outmine the Terran player, even with the mules that are on the field currently. And unfortunately, Zealot's able to force another cancel at that fourth base. So looks like Polt's going to build it a lot closer to home, going to tuck it in right here next to his third base. That's going to provide a much safer option. We actually have another command center here. Potentially could be warped in, turned into a planetary fortress, and it looks like Polt is actually going to go for that option. Not something we normally see Polt do, so I think a bit of an indication of the position that Polt's in, particularly because a planetary here doesn't help him secure this gold expansion. So a bit surprised to see Polt do it. Obviously you can see the position that he's in. Nice storms going down from Classic on top of this army, and we see just another devastating press from Classic as he just muscles forward over these Marines and Marauders. Going to be warping a lot of Zealots here to back up this unit. Things looking very dire as Polt's supply drops to 140. Reinforcements trying to muscle their way in. The orbital command, planetary fortress almost finished up. This is going to provide a linchpin in the defense of Polt. Will it be enough to let him hold these Archons going to work? Unfortunately, no extra armor for this planetary fortress. Is going to blast its way through the Archons. Not actually focus firing them down. Unfortunately, those Archons could have had a lot of their damage output diminished, but unfortunately not able to focus fire them down. Reinforcements from Polt going to force back these Archons, but another warp in of Zealots going to put a lot more pressure on Polt. Can he hold here, or will he be forced back? Looks like we have Classic expanding behind us. Things looking very grim for Polt as Classic just continues to warp in. This warp prism providing frontline reinforcements. Unfortunately for Classic's army, these reinforcements just a little bit slack at the moment, hanging down the baseline. Going to take out that missile turret, and Polt trying to muster a defense, but 30 supply deficit thus far, and the composition of Zealot Archon is starting to wear its way through Polt's defenses. Third base going to get cleaned up here, and so Polt actually has no mining going on currently, and things looking very dire. 3-3 on the horizons. The one arrow in Polt's quiver. If he can hold out, going to pull SCVs to try and win this fight, but a storm on top of him is going to quickly wipe out those SCVs. The last of the Marines and Marauders getting forced back by this this terrifying Protoss death ball. Unfortunately for Polt, looks like he may be just a few units too short. Another big storm on top of the Terran force. Looks like that may be it for Polt as the remainder of the Protoss army gets warped in on top of his suffering natural expansion. His poor SCVs can see their doom approaching. There's Archon up to 7 kills now. This last Hero Marauder trying to hold the line, but Polt forced to tap out as Classic takes this game. So we've seen both these players take a game in what's been a phenomenal series thus far. I hope you've enjoyed it. Both these players just playing tip-top shape. Just unfortunately for Polt, missing the scout on that high yield just put him behind economically. Classic shouldn't have been able to trade the way he did. We see in the units lost tap virtually equal. Normally that's a bad thing for a Protoss player. They're normally quite cost efficient. But Classic able to just put on relentless pressure. These gateways just being fueled by the high yield expansion. Paid for, then fueled them. And that was the momentum Classic needed. Is devastating storm assaults with that Zealot Archon composition. Just stuff of Terran nightmares. So Classic showing us what he's made of against a player of Polt's caliber. Just very impressive play. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed casting them. We'll upload these to the channels as quickly as possible, and we have more of IEM Cologne coming up right after this. Don't miss out, guys. We'll catch you in the next cast.